Well, if you weren't aware of it before you arrived, the music team has certainly made you aware that we are in the midst of the Christmas season. You didn't know that. See, it was always worth your coming here just to hear that. And of course, Christmas is the opening story of the second half of our spiritual journey that's described in the Bible. The old story from Hebrew scripture is a story of distance from God, fear of God, blind obedience to a jealous God, demanding our anguish and suffering as atonement for sin and error. And all of that is very important. It is necessary because we could not have found our way to this new story without experiencing all of the old story first. But we are called to more, and more is the essence of the new story. This time it's not a journey. There's no place for us to go. This time we are asked not to accept the new story, but to give birth to it. And so this Christmas I invite you to own the story, to allow it to express within yourselves. In some comforting ways, it seems to me the beginning of the new story is very similar to the beginning of the old story. Like Eve, Mary is called to experience the pain of childbirth and the creative energy of childbirth. It's not to be understood within the framework of the old story any more than the original births of Cain and Abel could be experienced within the consciousness of the garden. They had to leave the garden into the appearance of duality so that the creative choices could begin to be made. This Mary within us is asked to trust and accept without demanding answers. We're often told that she kept these things and pondered them privately in her heart. Like Adam, the Joseph within us is challenged to provide sustenance and support. And like Adam and Eve, guided out of the garden into a new experience. Joseph and Mary are forced to leave behind the comfort zone of Nazareth to take their willingness into unfamiliar places. This time, however, we are not sharing a story about moving into the human experience. We have already moved as deeply into it as we possibly could. So deeply that we only remember our true spiritual identity in dreams and flights of insight. Angels appear out of nowhere with messages that make no sense to our logical minds, but that speak to not the old story, but the new story. The cast of characters, and who knew there was even a cast of characters to be considered, pictures for us the enormous impact this birth is to have. From the simple physicality of the animals in the manger to the work-focused, blindly obedient shepherds, to the wealthy and intellectually accomplished magi, representing the heights to which the human experience can achieve, to the angels singing of new possibilities from the dimensions of spiritual expression and experience to which we are all called. Every dimension of life watches with joy and infinite love as we step, however tentatively, into the silent night of darkness and give birth to a tentative new light. The full expression of the birth is far off. This Christ light does not blaze at once and eliminate the darkness everywhere. We don't suddenly find ourselves enfolded in light and experiencing no more darkness. We experience a spark of light in the darkness, and we are invited to allow that to grow within us, to expand within us, to become the light in full expression. The supporting characters go back to their own stories, and Mary and Joseph are left to nurture the child. In many ways, this birth is the culmination of the old story, isn't it? That story has taken us from a creative and loving God in the garden to a distant and fearful God, to an omnipotent and supporting God, to a judging God, and to a God of personal experience. We've moved in the final books of Hebrew Scripture, we've moved from belief in a God speaking to all of the people as a whole, en masse, to recognizing a personal relationship with the divine through the prophets, and ultimately through ourselves, to recognize that our relationship is not meant to simply be obedience as a group, but guidance, love, and support as individuals. It is only complete when we move through the final pages, giving birth to ourselves as the Christ light. And this final chapter of the old story is also the first chapter of the new story. Having birthed the child, we now must nurture and protect it. The journey to Christ awareness now becomes the journey to full Christ expression. It won't happen on this silent night. There are many adventures still to be experienced. But we really must embrace this incredible moment. We are giving birth to God, to new dimensions of spiritual expression and experience, to the very kingdom of heaven that we feel within us, however briefly, in the wonder and darkness of the coming of the light. It is so often thought that Christmas is supposed to be a time of peace and joy, ease and abundance. And when when that does not define our experience, we blame ourselves, don't we? I must be doing Christmas wrong. But if we go back and look at that cast of characters, none of them had it easy through that Christmas. It was not an easy experience for anyone. Mary and Joseph, Mary was 9 months pregnant, sitting on a donkey riding across the desert, for Pete's sake. This was not part of her game plan, I'm sure. Joseph was faced with a troubling awareness that he couldn't understand, and finally had to decide not to understand, but simply to accept, in the fact that his wife to be was pregnant. The Magi are scattered across the Middle East, in cities where they are renowned, they are successful, they are wealthy and educated. They are everything that we can be in this human dimension without the awareness, that awareness of the Christ. Shepherds are doing their job, for heaven's sake. They don't get a holiday off. They're tending their sheep and comparing notes and passing the time, passing the night, when suddenly the angels appear. Those angels of spiritual awareness, spiritual persuasion, spiritual good news. And they are faced with the decision of doing their job and playing it safe, or of leaving, going off to find this strange new thing the angels sing about. That's not easy either. They could lose their jobs. Everything could go wrong. Nothing is guaranteed, except that spark of light will grow, can be believed, can be trusted. And so for all of us, we experience that spark of light If you are finding it a difficult Christmas, some of you have had challenging years, are going through challenges right now. It is not a sign of divine disfavor or a sign that you are somehow doing Christmas wrong. It is a sign that you are giving birth. And giving birth is a challenge, as some of you may be able to attest much better than I. Yeah. So it's really allowing Christmas to be Christmas in all of its confusion, in all of its challenge and difficulty, in all of its joy and deep, deep sense of love and togetherness and oneness. It's what brings us together at Christmas here, because whatever we're going through in our lives, we know that this is the very heart of where we're meant to be. This is the very heart of what we're meant to know and affirm and remember as we move through the challenges of shopping and wrapping and partying and all of what Christmas has come to represent and how it has come to express in our lives. So I invite us this morning to share just a brief meditation on top of what Jennifer has already done for us. Just sit comfortably in your chairs. Focus on your breath. Breathe in. Feel your body expand. And breathe out. With each breath in, we recognize it and we absorb the amazing energy that is created because we are here together. With each breath out, we release any tension, any negative energies. We rest quietly and we ask ourselves for guidance. What is seeking to be born in and through you this Christmas season? What are the fears that live in the darkness? How can we feel the support and acceptance of life as we surrender to this darkness? What are the angels singing to you and to you alone? What is it the angels would have you know this Christmas? What is it that will make this Christmas deeper, more profound than any Christmas past? Well, if ever someone were to be connected with the sound of the angels, I guess that would be it. And so it is that we hear the angels' voices And so this is Christmas. And so we go into this experience open to all possibility, willing to be changed in deep, powerful ways, to move into the expanding light that follows the winter solstice. Open to all that light has to offer and to tell us, and to say to all of our own cast of characters, to all of our own angels, thank you. Thank you for this new story that I am being born into. Thank you for everything this Christmas is and everything that will follow. Thank you, and amen.